More lube. More lube, please. No one likes a dry big end. I'm really happy because the postman has just dropped off all of the bits that I need to put the Renault 16 back together. I got in touch with a guy called Salve. After speaking to various different people, everyone said he is the guy. He's been building these engines, not in 16s, in everything classic Renault for about 35, 40 years, and he's got all the parts too. Spoke to him, really nice bloke. He put everything in a box, posted it out yesterday, and it came 10 o'clock this morning. Just unpacking what's there, and here's a cool thing for everyone to know if you're watching this and you're going to rebuild one of these. Big end shells. If you look at the big end shells, the bottom four are lighter grey and the top four are darker grey. So immediately rang Salve and said, Salve, what's crack with that? What do I need to do? And he said, darker ones on the top, lighter ones on the bottom. So, just got another job to do at work, and then I'm going to crack on with the Renault 16. We're going to get the shells in, get them all soaked in oil, get the crank back together, get the oil pump back together, and then we're going to see if we've got oil pressure, and we're going to go for starting it up later on today. This is the shoelace trick. Now, the shoelace trick isn't for everyone, and some people might say that this is a bit of a bodge. And to those people, I would say, you're probably right. The shoelace trick probably is a little bit of a bodge. However, the shoelace trick does work. This takes a couple of minutes, and what you want to do is you want to keep moving the shoelace backwards and forwards. The reason that you want to move the shoelace backwards and forwards is so that you don't create a pressure point. I've gone with 1000 grit to start with, and then I'm finally going to do 2500 grit. And hopefully we can save this, not much, WD went on there. Hopefully we can save this crank from a full-blown rebuild. Let's give this a quick spray. Now already compare that to that. We're getting there. Right, I've been polishing this now for probably, I would say I've been polishing this for about 5 minutes now. You should probably do this for 2 or 3 minutes, but I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit scored. So we're just going to give it a quick clean off with some brake cleaner. I think this is looking really good now. I'm not wrong, it is looking really good. Okay. All I'm going to do now with this, I'm not going to remove much more material. The main aim now is to polish what's there to get the nicest, cleanest finish that I can. So I'm going to show you how the journal's looking, and then I'm going to get on it with 2500 grit wet and dry, which is hardly going to do anything, but it will, on a microscopic level, deburr what's there. This is looking good. If it had have looked like that when I took it apart, I wouldn't have done any of this. And I know it's not perfect, and I still stand by it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be absolutely fine. That is gonna be perfectly serviceable. There's no burring on it. It's a really nice smooth surface. There's no gouging, nothing. And I've had my vernier on there, and that was still 48 mil. In the last video, I incorrectly said 45 mil. These journals are 48 millimeters, and that was 48, and now it's just a slightly polished 48. I've just got WD-40 in my eye. If you've never done the shoelace trick, I'm not going to say you should try it, because hopefully you're not going to be in this situation where you need to try it. However, if you're in a situation where you need to polish a crank journal, this is a good way to do it. Right. Brilliant. I am more than happy with that. As said, I'm not going to say this is the most perfect job in the world ever. However, what this is it's a repair to get the car serviceable again. And I've already kind of succumbed to the fact that if I put this in and it doesn't work, hey, I'll just rebuild it. I don't mind. I'm okay about the whole need to rebuild thing at this point. Like, you very much have to just accept in for a penny, in for a pound. I can't believe we're still here for another night of fun. So I've done a few bits and pieces. Obviously I've polished up the crank journal earlier on. I've got a photo of how that turned out rather than a video, because I've just started putting it back together and then realised I need to film some of this. I was speaking to Dad's Army and he was saying, oh, Dad's Army, let's just talk you through who Dad's Army is. Dad's Army is a guy that comes and helps us with some of our projects and gives advice as and when needed. Massive thanks as well to Salve, because Salve's been on the phone for a few of my queries. So I really appreciate both of those people just taking the time to answer my many ridiculous questions about this. Are we there? No, we're not there. Why won't this just turn nicely? Ugh. Can you see on there those 3 stamps? They correlate to these 3 stamps. Hang on. You see those 3 stamps there? So we know that that cap and that conrod are a matched pair, because we've got the 3. Okay, so we make sure that the shell is nicely seated and it's all flush. We make sure there's not any debris or swarf in there. Give it a nice wipe out and then put some fresh oil in. Lube, lube, lube. You can never lube enough. Lubity lube, lubity lube. Get the lube in there. Smush it around with your fingers. For the anti-rotation, make sure that they line up. I can't believe how many people have stayed along for this journey. Really appreciate it. So we're just going to snug these up. Not going to go winding them all the way home just yet. As I'm tightening this, I can feel the play coming out of the conrod as it's snuggling down. So you just want to gently snug these up. You don't want to go full ham from this straight away. You want to just gently ease them in to the 30 foot-pound. Just checking the torque wrench. 1, 2. This should now still move nicely, and it does. Complete dream. That's nice and tight. I'm really, really happy with how this job's going so far. So 2 more to go. So let's put these together. Again, give it a good wipe out, make sure it's all clean and nice. Squirt of oil, smush it around with your finger. The lighter of the 2 shells, again, make sure it's all nice and clean, there's no grit on there. Keep it nice and clean. Line that up, line that up. So we want that to sit flush there and then push it home. I don't know if it's focused on me or that. Now that it's in there, you can use your thumb just to snug it around, and that's now ready to be fitted. But don't ever forget, more lube please. No one likes a dry big end. I'm getting more and more like my dad on a daily basis. It's worrying. You can watch me struggle with this in high definition now. So I'm going to tackle the one that's a right bugger next. Now that that shell's lined up and this is all together, get the next 2 bolts. Keep saying bolts, I don't mean bolts. I've just lubricated that as well. I've just soaked that in oil, by the way. I'm really enjoying this little foray into engine rebuilding so far. Only had one conversation to have with Salve that made me look like an idiot. I haven't quite run that past him yet. I had a bit of a question about what we were doing, and basically, even though I told everyone that I was going to do a fantastic job of lining everything up, and I would remember where I got everything and put everything, I forgot which way I was doing the end caps. And I got two of the end caps mixed up, which caused the engine to get a little bit tight. Does that still turn nice? This is a dream. A little bit of back and forth play, but nothing up and down. So far, I couldn't be happier with the progress that we're making on this. And I really do think we're going to get rewarded at the end of it with a beautiful first start and oil pressure. So, you know the score by now. Fill it with oil. We've already got the shell assembled in there. Again, fill it with oil. So you guys won't be able to see this one because it's very obscured. The final piece of the puzzle is very, very obscured. So I'm just going to do this last one and I'm going to let you watch me do it and then I'll show you it afterwards. However, yes, everything so far going an absolute dream. I'm very, very, very happy with just how smooth the engine feels turning over. It feels absolutely great. Okay, so interestingly, the Haynes manual doesn't actually give a torque setting for these. It just says tighten bolts and secure fitting. So I'm just going to go by feel on these, I think, and then I might put the torque wrench on them just to make sure that they're all equal, but I can't imagine there's going to be a massive issue with these. We'll snug them all down first and then give it one last little nip. The oil pump is back on, which now means it's time to fit on our nice, clean, new oil strainer. I say new, it's not new, it's just clean. So, first bolt. I remember when I took these out, thinking how unbelievably long they were and how they seemed much longer than they ever needed to be. It's not in my way. It turns over so nice. Yes. Thank you, Salve. Thank you, Salve, for the parts to fix my lovely Renault that I love so much. I feel like doing work like this and the kind of journey that this car's been on with us already, all it does is make you love it even more because you're like, yeah, I've put something into that. Now, probably not the tool for the job, but I'm going to use a little flathead screwdriver to flatten over the locking tabs, make sure that they're all bent in properly. It's also not my screwdriver, it's Paul's. Thanks, Paul. I'm going to use a flat blade now just to clean up the edge, ready for the new sump gasket. We're really getting there fast. The next part, sump gasket on. What came out of this sump was absolutely disgusting. Genuinely just, it was minging. So yeah, I'm just gonna line this up. I've cleaned it all up nicely. It is a nice thick cork gasket, which means it doesn't have to have a perfect mating surface, but the cleaner you can get it, the better. So let's get this on. A bit of a trick to putting these on is if you line the gasket up and then drop some bolts in, you can use the bolts and the gasket to hold the gasket in place. Oh man, it's cold. Right, we've had to cut forwards a little bit because to be honest with you, if I wanted this done today, I had to really crack on. So just to give you an update, the sump is back on with a new seal, thanks Salve. The timing cover is back on. I've turned it over loads of times by hand and it all feels really good. So we are now at the point of putting oil in it, letting that soak through and seeing if it's got oil pressure. I'm very excited, but also slightly nervous. And then I already feel a sense of achievement, but I will feel much more of a sense of achievement when it starts and runs mint. Because this has been an absolute mission. But I really love this car, so got to do her right. Okay. She's full of motion lotion. And that means there's only one thing left to do.